Hi, welcome. Today we will talk about a gambit that has a great reputation on low-rated games. So I'm talking about the Blackburne Shilling. This opening is played by Black, and he is gaining some reputation in the last years. So this has been played for the first time, I think, in 1912 by Kostic, and that's the reason that this opening can be named the Kostic Gambit too. And I think it's a very interesting approach by Black. Important. I don't want this video to be a typical video about traps. So the idea is to, of course, show the traps first, and then for the higher rated players, I want to approach this subject with critical thinking using the most recent technologies of Stockfish and Lila. So we will see if, yes, if exists refutations, and if this can be playable by 2,000 players or even higher. So let's jump to our video. So before starting, of course, I need to talk about that. Almost 87% of the viewers isn't subscribed. Why don't you like me? I'm a great person. My goal is to help you to improve. And to do that is quite easy. You just need to help me by subscribing, pushing the like button, and if you want to see all the contents that I put, you can always put the notifications on. If you have some suggestions, you can put always on the comments below. And if you want to talk with me, you can talk with me by chess.com. My nickname is dark_attack. I always respond. So let's jump to our video. So about this opening, on the last years, this opening's reputation is improving, and I'm going to show you the website of chess.com, because chess.com has the openings, and I think is a very interesting way to see if this opening is winning or losing reputation. So, well. At the beginning of the 20th century, as you're seeing, this was played a lot. So 13%, 11%. But then the players stopped playing this opening, probably because of the fact that Steinitz has written on his book that this opening was terrible, and he has said that the refutation for this opening was just to play castle kingside. We will see this all, and but the thing is that on the last years, from 2000 to now, the reputation is increasing, and right now is almost 3%. Of course, it's not too much, but the thing is that is gaining popularity with the popularization of the computers and the engines. So this can mean something. So let's see our material. So about the opening, this is played on the black side, and this is an answer to the Italian game. So white starts with e4, e5, knight f3, and after knight c6, we will continue with bishop c4. And okay, here exists a lot of different ways of approaching this, and normally the most used are knight to f6 and bishop to c5, and we have a lot of different approaches to play against this. For example, we have seen here on the channel already the Evans gambits, and against the knight we have seen the lines of the attack of the knight on g5, and even we have seen the neck mason is very interesting too. But what if black plays a different thing? So before we continue with the idea, who should play it and why? Well, this, in my opinion, should be played by players that they like to play with the confusion, tactical play, and they want to do a different thing. Very important, the surprise factor. So they want to trick their opponent. So this is an opening that you can play, but please don't do this twice. You should play this once, twice after a few games, because you don't want to play against prepared opponents. So this is my opinion, because I think this is an opening, tricks only opening. So if the whites player is experienced player, probably you're going to lose. So I would advise these tricks for players under 1500 probably. But yeah, if you're a 2000 player or even 24,000, yes, you can play this on Blitz or even Rapid. If you're playing against a low-rated opponent and you're certain that you will fail on this variation, yeah, you can play it. Why you want to play this? Because it's aggressive, because it's interesting, and because you can win this game quickly. So these are a few advantages of playing this with black. And what is the idea? Well, when you learn the principles of the development, we learn that we shouldn't repeat the same piece. But yeah, I will advise you to play knight to d4. And the thing is that if your opponent isn't expecting this move, and if he doesn't know the theory, and yes, I had 22,000 on chess.com, and I failed that. With white, I failed, and I lost because I didn't knew the theory, and I didn't think, because I was playing a blitz of three without increment. So here the thing is that what will white play? And the thing is that we will start with knight takes e5. We will see knight takes knight. And we will see sidelines. For example, castle kingside, the ideas of the Steinitz. So in the end, of course, as we do always, I will put 3 practical exercises just to consolidate everything we learned today. So let's go. First line, if knight takes e5, this is a terrible mistake for white. So if you want, you can put on pause and think a little bit, but interesting. This is a terrible mistake for white, and normally black wins with violence. But we will see a line that guarantees equality for white. This is interesting because normally we don't see this stuff. No one talks about this. So here with black, we will play queen g5. And the idea is that we are attacking the pawn on g2 and we are attacking knight on e5 at the same time. And of course, here we will see first knight takes f7, then bishop takes f7, and castle kingside. So let's start. If castle takes f7, we already won the game, because here, oh, okay, knight is attacking the rook, is attacking the queen, but it doesn't matter. The material isn't important. The game ends with a checkmate. So yeah, material, we don't need them. So here we will continue with queen takes g2. And the thing is that we are threatening to take the rook. And okay, if he wants, he can take the rook too. So let's see. If knight takes rook, queen takes rook, and okay, bishop f1 is the only possible move. And after that, queen takes e4, this is check. So of course, this king cannot go anywhere, and the knight is here. the knight is attacking this square too, so, and the queen too. So this is terrible for white, because of course if queen plays we can take. This is too beautiful for black. And if bishop plays to e2, we will continue with a very, very, very nice approach, because okay, yes, you can try to do that, but this isn't the best move. Yes, you can take, and you're going to take the rook, and yes, blah, 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 but this isn't the best play. Here, you can give checkmate in 8 moves. With bishop c5, it's unstoppable. It's already unstoppable, because after knight attacks, for example, just to show, this is terrible, because now is 4. I will show the 8th move later. Here we continue with knight f3, and after king plays to f1, we play queen to h4. We are threatening to give checkmate in 1, and here we are attacking to the h3 square. And the thing is that the knight is attacking both 2 squares. So after, for example, king g2 to try to prevent the checkmate, queen can take, and after king plays, of course, here is checkmate, the kiss of the dead. And if king plays to h3, we just advance upon it, and this is checkmate. It's over, finished. So, of course, oh, okay, but white shouldn't play the knight to c3. Yes, okay. So the best move possible is knight to f7, according to the fish, and after knight f3, king f1, queen h4, again, the same thing. And let's see, oh, d4, no, this is checkmate, again. And if here the knight plays to d6, that's the reason. Is checkmate in 8, because here we will take the knight and it's finished. King d2, it's the same thing again. The difference is that we don't have this checkmate because of the pawn, but we can take on h2. And after queen g4, where is the checkmate? Knight f6, yes. We give a check with development, and after king takes f3, now it's checkmate in 1. We just need to play queen f2. The knight is controlling those 2 squares, and the queen is attacking the king, and the king, of course, cannot take because of the presence of the bishop. So this is a very quick checkmate and beautiful one. Don't forget, bishop c5 is very interesting. Okay, what if white doesn't accept this stuff? Okay. This is bad, of course. Oh, another thing. Here we have seen the bishop, of course. If queen plays, it's just too easy, okay? I want to talk about everything, okay? So, okay, this first line, I think, is learned. We can see rook to f1 is an alternative instead of taking the rook. Of course, probably is better, but is lost. It's the same thing, because if queen takes e4, it's the same idea. And after, for example, bishop plays to e2, this is smothered mate. I'm going to do later a video about the smothered mate. Beautiful stuff. The king cannot go anywhere. The bishop is pinned, so the game is finished. Of course, here exists this possibility, but after knight takes e2, I think we don't need to see more, because after bishop takes, king takes knight, and we are winning not by 1 or 2 points, it is 9 clean points of advantage. So it's too good to be true. So very, very strong. About this line, we've already seen that, okay, knight takes is complicated, but important. Here, it's important to know that even if white plays the best continuations, you are already won. So if this happens, please calculate very well, even if your opponent does different stuff, okay? Now, what if it doesn't take the pawn with the knight? Here, this will become more interesting, trickier, probably, because, well, now we need to think in various aspects. One of them is that our king is being attacked, and of course we cannot take, and we need to think about the best squares for our king, and about the evaluation of this line of bishop taking f7. This apparently is playable for white. How will we do this? Here we will play king to d8, and this is playable because, but for me, I think it isn't easy for white, because here white can play castle kingside, and apparently everything is well, and we will take the knight. Of course, we are winning by 1 point. And what is the idea for white? The idea is that white will conquer the center and will be attacking for a few moves. For example, c3. Yes, the initiative is from white. So here, I think probably we shouldn't play knight to c6 because of d4, this kind of stuff, and because we cannot take because of this this checkmate. But here we can play, for example, sorry, not this one, but this one, queen to f4. The idea is quite simple. If pawn takes, bishop takes, and if bishop takes on g8, here we will threaten to give checkmate. And this is playable for black. The thing is that you need to know this line pretty well. So after g3, knight f3, and we have a very interesting game because, of course, king to g2, knight h4, and this pawn cannot take. This is terrible because queen takes on h2, and after king plays to h3 to f3, we can draw if you want, because, well, this is checkmate, so this can't happen, and if you want you can draw this game and you repeat the moves. But if you want to try to win the game, you can take another pawn, and even queen to f, we take another pawn because it doesn't exist any available check. So it isn't easy to play this game, but the fish likes the game of black because we are underdeveloped. But the thing is that white's king is completely exposed. So for this reason, I think this is playable for black. After, for example, rook h1, queen g6, g5, sorry, and this is complicated for both sides because now rook takes bishop and we are winning by 1 point with black. So it's complicated, this line. But let's be realistic. Probably most players will take the f7 pawn with the knight. But you already know, if bishop takes, please play king to d8. Why? Because if you play king e7, probably you're going to lose. This is playable, but most difficult, because after castle kingside, the thing is that white is, as the center, is continuing to advance the central pawns, and your king isn't well placed. For example, you can't take because of the rook, and the queen will be pinned. So you don't want to play this variant. Don't forget, very important, king to d8. So let's jump to our next variation. So this started like that, and according to the specialists, they say that knight takes knight is the refutation for white. It depends of the point of view. If you call evaluation of 0.72 refutation, probably you're a super GM, because it isn't 1 point, is 0.72% points. So this, in my opinion, is playable for black. Of course, it isn't easy, but here we will see who plays best chess. If you do this, of course, you will need to take the knight. And after, for example, castle kingside, here I will recommend knight f6, because I think this is pretty. Because, for example, talking about low-rated games, after knight f6, probably most players will advance the pawn to e5. And after that, my suggestion is just to advance d5, because if pawn takes knight, you take the bishop. If rook gives check, you just play bishop to e6. After, for example, pawn takes pawn, bishop takes on g7, and the argument for black is that I'm more developed and I have a pair of bishops. So I'm happy to play this position. About the strategy for the king, probably the idea is just castle queen side, and we will attack on the king side, sorry, because we have an open file. So I think this is very interesting. About, of course, variations. Here, white isn't obligated to take the knight, of course. And okay, an alternative can be just to play bishop to b3. And okay, after that, this position, in my opinion, is completely playable because we want to play knight e4. And for example, after d3, I think is a normal move, we will play knight c5 and we will exchange the knight for the bishop. Here, you probably are thinking about the fact that we have doubled pawns. Yes, but this isn't a problem. It isn't a real big deal because after knight takes, a takes, we can play c5. And the thing is that our doubled pawns are central pawns. So for this reason, we don't have any problem. And we have the pair of bishops and white doesn't have. So here, at least this position is equal. So, of course, the game will be long, but if you lose, you won't be losing because of the opening. So, talking about this variant, in my opinion, doesn't have any problem for black. An alternative can be just to play the rook first. And okay, after this, it's important that you don't play d5 or else pawn takes and you're going to have a big problem. So you want to play d6 to prevent this advance. And of course, if this pawn advances, you can take, rook takes. You don't have doubled pawns right now. And after bishop plays to, for example, e7 or even bishop e6 is playable too. But let's see, bishop e7 is more normal. For example, imagine if queen plays to e2, apparently it's normal. Here, you can just play wherever you want. For example, here, well, most players would want to have a knight on c, but we don't have. So we need to compensate doing this kind of stuff. Knight to d7. And the thing is that this rook will play to e4. And after that, if you want, you can play for the draw. For example, you can play knight f6 and you're attacking the rook again. Rook e5 and okay, let's draw again. If the rook plays here, no problem, castle kingside, because if rook takes, bishop c5 and we have a lot of compensation on this game. Why is that? Because white is underdeveloped. And for example, after rook plays here, we play again knight to f6. And the thing is that we have pair of bishops on the open center. So this rook has some problems, has some issues. For example, I don't know, this isn't available, this isn't too. For example, rook to f4 and okay, bishop d6. And we will improve our position. Of course, this isn't a tactical position, but a positional one. So very interesting too. Continuing. About this kind of lines. If knight takes, pawn takes, we have seen the advance, direct advance, and we have seen rook to e1. Well, here we can see more cautious approach. And here, okay, we can play again if you want d5. Probably is the simplest way of playing this for players like me, for example, because after pawn takes, here, knight can take, and after rook check, we can play bishop e7. Everything is well, because, for example, if he tries to attack on this file, we can play bishop e6. Everything is well. And talking about space, we are controlling more central space than our opponent. So this, in my opinion, isn't a problem. We need to talk about another variation. Knight takes, pawn takes, knight f6, sorry, castle, knight f6. And now, again, imagine that here pawn advances, d5, and this pawn takes on d6. Here we will take with the bishop, and again, I think we don't have any problem, because we have a great central pawn, and white doesn't have nothing. So this is quite easy to play. So in my opinion, this knight takes knight, if you know what to do, you won't have any problems at all. For example, c3 can be an approach by a stronger player, because he will think that you take and he will take and you're underdeveloped. Here, you will give up this pawn because you don't want to be underdeveloped never on your life. So I will recommend again this. The idea is the same. If pawn advances, we play d5. And if castles, here we play d5 again. It's always the same. Because takes bishop e7, we need to play very quickly. And, well, I think no one wants to play this kind of position. It's triple pawns. I think is kind of strange, but well, if you want, you can analyze this on the fish. And serious, I don't believe no one will want to play this position for white, because, well, the pawns will fall, and it's easier to play this position for black, even though we are losing by 2 points. Because, for example, probably this can happen, bishop f5, for example, queen here, I don't know, can be a plan, and rook b8. And the thing is that, okay, after all, how will this bishop advance? For example, if this pawn advances, we already have tactical solutions, because the bishop is lacking space. And if bishop takes, we play a6. And, well, party in the house, because we are going to win this game with black. And we will talk about the triple pawns to our friends. So this, in my opinion, is ugly for white. So we've already talked about the two most common lines, and we've seen that this one has a lot of potential for black, is the true Blackburne Shilling Gambit. It isn't a true gambit, because you will win always, most of times. And if knight takes, we've already seen that this doesn't create so complications as everyone is saying. Now we need to see the line of Steinitz. So after this, Steinitz said that the castle king side could be an idea. Well, in my opinion, if you know how to defend the scholar's mate, you don't need to be worried about. It's true, we are lacking some development, but in the end, this is completely playable, in my opinion. It isn't the easiest way of playing, but it's playable. For example, knight takes, queen takes, be careful with the checkmate. Here we play, for example, queen f6 or knight f6. I will defend knight f6 because I believe that you can play for the win still. So, for example, queen here to try to attack this, and okay, you don't need to be worried about. Let's play queen to e7. I know it's ugly because of the bishop, but wait a little bit, because I will show you this isn't a problem. Because after knight to try to play here, we play c6. Everything is well. And after, for example, d4 isn't available, a4 is strange. For example, rook to e1. Here we can continue this with b5. Why not? We want to create problems on this bishop and this queen. So the thing is that this bishop will need to go back. and to e2 or to f1. And after that, I believe that we already have potential to play this for the win. I'm a little bit nuts. I would play h5 because I enjoy a lot asymmetrical positions and I like to attack. And probably white would play d3. After that, we need to solve later our problems. So if we have space, we can win space. And after h3, for example, here we already can exchange our queen. What is the idea? Quite simple. If queen takes, bishop takes, we have a pinned knight. We can castle if you want. We don't need to because we already advanced a lot the pawn. And if you castle, probably you will have problems with bishop g5. And about, for example, bishop g5, just to show, we can play wherever we want. For example, bishop c5 is playable. And if, for example, white takes, this is completely playable for black. Again, we have the pair of bishops and white doesn't have. So, in my opinion, this should be playable for black. So, we've already talked about knight takes e5, knight takes knight, and we've seen the sidelines. And okay, yes, we need to be realistic. If I play with higher rated players, of course, I wouldn't like to play a position where I'm lacking development. But the thing is that we can use this opening according to the type of opponent we have and according to our actual level. So if you're, for example, a 400 player or 500 or even 1000 player, probably this will work. You are going to win a lot of games and you don't need, this is a suggestion, you don't need to play the best lines, the Spanishes and the Italians. You don't need to play the Sicilian or the French. You can play for the tricks in the beginning. And while your level continues improving, you will change, but the knowledge will be with you. So, because those patterns are important, because on several different games, you can apply those kind of concepts. So let's do our exercise. And we will do three, one on each variant. And first, if white takes, what will we do? And is this good or black? Or black or bad, sorry. So the answer is this isn't the best approach for white. Yes, if white plays very, very, very well, probably is playable, but after queen g5, we have a lot of confusion. So if knight takes, the game is won for black. If bishop takes, is playable with king to d8. Second question, after knight takes knight, pawn takes and castle, here is important to evaluate what is the best way of continuing this position. So after knight, we have seen that e5 as d5, and the resulting position will be very good for black, because after pawn takes bishop, and for example, of course, rook here, bishop e6, you don't have any problem. And if pawn takes, just to show, if pawn takes, bishop here, and you have more development because of the pawns and the pair of bishops, and the material is even. Last question. We've seen that Steinitz believed that the best approach was to castle kingside. Here, we need to know if this is good or bad. So, what would you do? The answer is knight takes knight. And after queen takes, we need to be careful with the scholar's mate. After knight f6, queen to b3, queen to e7, knight c3, we have c6, very important to control the square of d5. This position is completely playable as we've seen, gaining some space, exchanging our queen, and of course, after a few moves, this is completely equal. In my opinion, is easier to play this for black. So I think this line is very interesting too. So we have seen that this Blackburne Shilling Gambit is very interesting and can be completely played on all levels. For example, Levon Aronian has already played the Blackburne Shilling a few times with great results. So if Aronian played that, yeah, probably he wasn't kidding when he played that. You can play. And the computers, okay, the worst position possible is 0.72. So this isn't a very high value, and for my level, for your level, this is probably a problem if you're a player of 2600 or 2700, and I don't believe that those kind of players are seeing the videos. But if you're 26 or 2700, please tell me something. I want to know who you are. But in my opinion, yes, you can play this. And if you are a low-rated player, this is great to create damages and win quickly several games. And this will improve, this will help you to improve the calculation, the tactical play, and the kingside attacks. So I recommend you to play those kinds of openings just for the tricks and just for the problems. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget, if you're still not subscribed, please subscribe. It will be a very big help. And tomorrow we will be here again with a new video about chess. Till tomorrow, thanks a lot for all the support and bye-bye.